Welcome to Mandy's Diaries podcast, where we discuss everything music, business, culture. If this is something for you, please stay tuned because we've got lots to uncover today with one of our guests, NOTA, or rather known as Ntlamulo Baloi. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, and how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining us. Guys, please stay tuned. We're going to be discussing SA music. We're going to be discussing your journey in music. We'll also be discussing the future of AMAPIANO and your thoughts on the likes of people like Donald Trump and Koko Maweni. Because I think a lot of people do value your opinion, and you are a very opinionated person.
Okay.
Is that why you got...
Koko Maweni do music?
No. But it's just in general things that are happening in South Africa.
Okay,
Ne?
I guess. Yeah.
But well, Donald Trump doesn't do music either, so...
He dances
Oh, really?
on TikTok.
Oh, okay. I actually never seen, but I know you on TikTok. But you're the ex-king, eh?
Why?
I heard Uguti you got banned from trending.
Yeah, well, yeah. There was a point where I was banned from trending.
Why?
No, people report your trends. It's like you can have a trend reported and banned.
And how long does the ban last for?
I don't know. I'm unbanned now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you had to wait a bit?
I wasn't waiting.
You just carried on doing your
I
thing?
just noticed that, okay, I'm trending again, which means I'm unbanned.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay, that's quite fascinating.
Yeah.
So are we calling you Nota today or Ntlamulo? Who are you today?
I don't have a different personality or a different persona.
Okay.
As people call me Nota, I guess, because that's what they know. But, it was a term of endearment. My friends would call me Nota, but yeah. I introduced myself as Ntlamulo. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. And what was Ntlamulo like growing up? What kind of
What do you
kid
mean?
were you?
I guess very curious or inquisitive, one would say. And yeah, possibly no different from, adult me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nothing's
Same
changed.
Same old, yeah.
Still curious as ever.
Yeah, and inquisitive, and yeah. And strong-willed, yeah. I
Okay.
guess, yeah.
And how has that benefited you in your career?
How's that benefited me? Well, I mean, I guess I take initiative. So, I've also got strong self-belief.
Okay.
So whenever I have the inclination to explore something, I back myself to, see it through and make it a success, I guess.
Okay. And where does that come from? Like being like self-driven or believing in yourself?
I guess everyone gets their self-esteem from home or their upbringing. So, if you're encouraged to, explore and be curious and discover, then it's something that sticks with you from childhood until, you become an adult. I
Yeah.
guess, yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the evolution of South African music. Let's talk about the music scene in South Africa, ne? And how it's evolved quite a bit. But from your perspective, has it changed over the years? And how has it changed for the better?
Well, I wouldn't say it's evolved
Okay.
because it's still the same. Technology has evolved. So, the way in which you listen to music or the way in which music is distributed or shared has changed. But music is still the same, you still have to go into studio, make a record, and it's up to the people whether they like it or not. The same, I guess, companies that, are responsible for building our music industry are still active in the industry, even though they might have changed ownership or, they've formed part of other conglomerates. But it's still, the same system. And the only difference now is that with the internet, there's, or not just with the internet, but with social media, musicians can get direct to the consumer without needing
Middleman. Okay.
the mainstream media to basically, engage with the listening public. Yeah. So that's the one thing that's changed. And is it for the better? Yeah, I think it's for the better because it democratizes, the industry. Anyone with an internet connection can get an audience, especially with platforms like TikTok, which serve content not based on a following, but based on algorithmic recommendations. Someone who doesn't have a million followers or subscribers or whatever the case may be can go viral and produce content that is seen by a wide audience. Whereas in the past, you needed to build up a following first, and then your following would then determine whether you get a wide audience that can share your content and make sure that other people are aware of it.
So, from your perspective, what do you think are the biggest challenges for upcoming artists in South Africa, or the greatest opportunities that they have?
Yeah, the biggest challenge I think is professionalism. Like, because of how democratized the opportunities have become, any and anyone can become well known.
Okay.
You know what I mean? From nowhere. But that doesn't mean that they've got a mastery of the craft that can then turn them into a professional. Just because you've got a viral song or a viral dance challenge doesn't mean you're a professional musician or professional performer or professional dancer. So the biggest challenge is people investing time or investing in themselves and taking time to develop themselves as professionals so they can have sustainable careers, especially when there's so many opportunities to become popular, to do a gimmick, you know what I mean? And that can give you the wrong impression about what it is that makes you successful. And you end up doing things that are not going to help you create a sustainable career. You end up just doing things to follow trends, and trends will move on and even beyond you. So that's not sustainable if you don't have a professional attitude.
Do you think there's like structures within the industry that help people get to that place of being professional? Because we've seen quite a lot of stars come from the likes of TikTok, but do you think once they enter the industry, they actually have that, there's systems in place that will help guide them into being more professional?
Yeah, everything is available. I mean, information is available everywhere. The information is pretty democratized. It's just that people don't have discipline and professionalism. That's it. It's just an attitude thing. So if you want to get into mining, you're going to study mining. You know what I mean? You're going to figure out what it is to get into the mining industry. Whereas with music, there's less barriers of entry. You don't need to study. You don't need a qualification. There isn't like an organization you can sign up at that recognizes you as a professional musician. Or there isn't like necessarily one. You know what I mean? It's not necessary for you to be part of some sort of professional organization for musicians, for you to be a player in the industry. And so that rewards some of the wrong behavior. People don't have to be professional to be successful. But if you want to have a sustainable career, you need to be professional, because that popularity that you get instantaneously is hard to sustain.
And noted, so Ikom and AMAPIANO have taken the world by storm, ne? These genres,
AMAPIANOs, yeah.
Ikom not so much.
No, not so much.
I mean, Babes was part of, her song was in, what was that movie again?
Black Panther.
Black Panther. Even though she couldn't make it to America at the time. But I mean, it reached America. But AMAPIANO obviously is a lot more bigger.
Yeah, now, you see, so I wouldn't say it reached America.
Okay.
It reached the ears of people in the diaspora. So it reached the African diaspora or
Okay.
diaspora, you know. Um, the average American does not know Amapiano. No.
Okay.
You know what I mean? They don't know it. You know? Um, the average person in the UK does not know Amapiano, Gqom, or Afrobeats or any of those things. They don't know it.
Okay.
Like the UK population, the black population is, I think, less than 7 million,
Okay.
you know?
Geez, that's quite small.
Yeah. So the UK population of blacks is slightly bigger than the South African population of whites,
Okay.
right? And our populations are slightly similar. I think the UK has got a population of just under 70 million, and ours is just below 65 million.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you compare the two, there's white musicians that no black South African has ever heard of,
Yeah.
but whites know who they are. You know what I mean? Like Africana music does well in its own market, but nobody knows who they are.
True.
So that's the same. The same goes for Amapiano and all these things. We've got a globally known star that has emerged from the Amapiano scene, which is Tyler.
Yeah.
That is all we have. As in, she is known. White, black, Indian, Hispanic, whatever you name it.
Yeah.
In America, they know Tyler.
Yeah.
They don't know the genre or the music scene that she comes from. They know of South Africa, and that's about it. That's the one success that we've been able to have, and we've built up from the successes of different genres. So you'll have your Babe Sotum or your Sjavas, your Saudis being featured on the Black Panther soundtrack, which then exposes them to a wide audience. That soundtrack performed really well on Spotify. So all of them saw like significant jumps in their monthly listenerships.
Nice.
You know, Saudi has maintained a listenership of over 1 million monthly listeners for like almost 5 years after that movie.
Wow. So he's still
Java-
making money now.
Yeah, the songs are still being streamed. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Java, the same can be said for him. You know, you had Afrobeats exploding. You know, MAPHORISA worked a lot with a lot of the Afrobeat stars because with the blowing up of Mafikizolo, when they made their comeback album,
Yeah.
you know, it became a continental success. And because of that continental success, you know, a lot of people wanted more of that Uhuru type of sound,
Okay.
you know, which came after the decline of Nigerian music or Nigerian pop music. I mean, prior to that, you had D'banj, you know, going global. You made Oliver Twist, but it was past its peak.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You had, prior to that, you had Flavor, you know, Noah Baby,
Yeah.
which became a continental success and was a very big song in South Africa as well. Prior to that, you had Two-Face Idibia.
Yes.
Even in that time, when Two-Face was coming out, you had P Squared. P Squared even did a collaboration with Rick Ross for Beautiful Onyinye.
Okay.
So the African music scene has been growing, you know, and the South African music scene has been the most developed for the longest time. So it only became natural that one of our exports is going to gain global success and popular success. And because of how similar culturally we are to America, you know, it just so happened that, you know, Tyler was the fortunate artist that came at the right time with the right type of sound and the right look to be marketable,
True.
you know. And right now, the rest of the South African music scene is now trying to find where it fits in the global music scene. Because witnessing one of your own country's successes go global changes your perception of the industry that you are part of. Your ambitions also change, you know what I mean? So a lot of younger artists that are coming up now are looking up to artists like Tyler and saying, how can I also plant my flag, you know, up at that mountaintop, you know what I mean? How can I also make it in Hollywood? And that changes also the motivation for why they're doing it. And so we're about to see a lot of changes as our industry develops as well.
So I can imagine navigating the music scene in South Africa can be quite tough. Like, what advice do you have for artists, upcoming artists, or even artists that are currently within the business? What advice can you give them in terms of branding, loyalties, just the business side of music? Because I think most of them are just so into their talent that they don't really know how to navigate that side of things.
Yeah, just be a professional. You know what I mean? Don't like build habits that make you a professional. If you have to have a routine, if you have to have a schedule, if you're a performer, you should know that, okay, at least 3 or 4 times a week during the week you are rehearsing for your performances. Whether or not you've got gigs on the weekend, that rehearsal is part of your being a professional. And that professionalism, holds you in good stead. It makes sure that at least you know what you're working towards. Things like studio time, like do your studio time within professional hours that are also sustainable. Nutrition, taking care of your health, like eating good. A lot of artists like change shape when they become artists. They get bigger or they get smaller, and you know what I mean. They can't maintain their diets and all of those things that hamper their performance as well. So you need to be professional about everything. You need to look at your nutrition professionally. What is the best for me? You need to look at your fitness professionally. What is the best for me as a professional? Even your environment, you need to look at it professionally. Like, what is the best environment for me to work as a professional? You can't put yourself in an environment which is not conducive to the work that you're trying to do. And then you end up blaming people when you're distracted from what your goals are. So that's it. It's just about professionalism. It's a very simple thing.
Yeah. And the royalty side of things, or branding, like...
I mean, if you're a professional, you'll study all those things.
So they should study that. They should know it equally as good as they know the music.
Yeah, you should know everything, and it's very easy to know everything these days. You know what I mean? There's AI which can summarize all the books for you. So, it's disappointing when people are not taking themselves seriously or professionally enough to ensure that they know everything about their careers. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So streaming platforms have drastically changed the industry. So we no longer put in a cassette or go actively buy a CD. Do you think these platforms have impacted the way music is made?
Yeah, but I mean more so in the rest of the world than here.
Okay.
So what happened here is that AMAPIANO has made us resist the global trends, because internationally, radio used to dictate how music is made. Music was made for radio, so they try to make you limit your song to between 3 and 4 minutes. Okay. So every song was 3 and 4 minutes, or if it was a single, it was 3 and 4 minutes. Or there'd be a radio edit. Now with AMAPIANO abandoning any ambitions of charting on radio, they made their songs longer, they gave their songs more defined intros, etc. And they also changed the consumption patterns, as in they don't drop singles, they just drop albums or EPs. And because of the prominent artists in the space having such a big following and those projects being a success, it's changed the behavior in South Africa in particular, in comparison with the rest of the world, which has followed the more, singles distribution strategy. You look at guys like your Calvin Momos, your KABZAs, you name it, them Tuda, all of them. There's never a time where they're just dropping singles. You know what I mean? Or even if they are dropping singles, it's not a single that they're putting that much marketing behind. It's maybe a time capsule, a moment in time. They're trying to catch on to a trend, but they're more about dropping full projects, which is good. And then as far as how streaming has changed, South Africa in general, is that with the explosion of streaming, we've seen the change in the consumption patterns of South Africans. So if you compare the radio charts to the streaming charts, it's a complete disparity. The songs that you see on the radio charts are not the songs that you see doing well on the streaming charts, and vice versa.
Why?
You know what I mean? Because of how radio is, how the radio game works.
Okay.
It's about submissions to different compilers and then playlisting, which are decided by each and every single station for their audience. And so with streaming, it's about, what the collective music listening public is listening to. And because of social media, everyone shares what they're listening to.
True.
And everyone wants to listen to what everybody else is listening to, because that's cool music to listen to. So because radio can dictate their playlists and people are forced to listen to whatever they're listening to on the radio, apart from changing the station, they can't really change the music. That whole entire market maker status of radio station has completely disappeared.
Okay.
So right now, the big streaming artists are like the new radio stations. So if you want to develop yourself as a producer, you have to collaborate with some of the big artists. I need to do a feature with MAPHORISA. I need to do a feature with Tyler ICU. I need to do a feature with Calvin Momo. And that's how I can make a name for myself. So the big producers have become the new radio stations. And that's changed because of streaming, because also they've got a high listenership. So if you're featuring with someone like a Calvin Momo who's got a high listenership, you'll also get some of that high listenership, because his fans will then be aware of your new releases.
Yeah.
And that's how the game is being played. So the power brokers now are the producers or the various studios that they belong to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think AI has obviously changed quite a bit within the music industry, in terms of how music is being produced. So, where do you see it going in the future?
Yeah, well, I mean, AI currently works within, well, they say it works within the playlist algorithm and recommendations, but, I think that there's a lot of human interference there. Because if it was strictly AI, if Calvin Momo is doing well, I just need to make songs that sound exactly like Calvin Momo's songs, and then they'll be number 2 if he's number 1. You know what I mean? That's how it should work.
Okay.
But clearly, there are people that are putting their thumb on the scale. But as far as AI infiltrating how we make music, I don't see it as a challenge, because it can be used in bits and pieces. But people want to actually follow someone who's making music, you know what I mean? So there isn't like an AI AMAPIANO producer who's not a human being that people, mess with. So that hasn't come yet, but it could come.
Yeah.
I think the biggest challenge for people with AI as a factor is that you need to make a name for yourself. You need to develop and establish your brand, so that people want to see or hear your content, or your music or your productions. And then you build your own following. Whereas AI can't really have a following.
Yeah.
It can't have fans.
True.
And, AI can't perform, can't sell tickets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one's going to buy tickets to watch a computer.
Yeah.
So defining yourself with those challenges in mind is very important, and it's like why it is also critical that people professionalize themselves, because you cannot build a brand unless you're a professional, because your brand is based on what it promises. You know what I mean? If I know, I don't know which example you can use as a brand, but if you go to a KABZA party, his brand is like, okay, he's going to play a lot of exclusives.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He's also a hit maker, so he's going to merge them. He's also been part of the AMAPIANO scene since, 2016, 2017. So you've got 8 years worth of playing experience, and he can play anything within that range. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And that's his brand.
Yeah.
And that's what you pay for when you book him to play at your festival. Whereas an up and comer who hasn't developed their brand, they don't have that. And so when AI comes into play, and people can now create mixes using AI, and there's another DJ who is maybe popular because of something that's gone viral on TikTok or something of the sort, then it's going to be a challenge to differentiate yourself or to compete in that space because you haven't established yourself as a brand. And that's where the challenge comes in.
Yeah.
With the other facets of music performance, like with DJing and stuff like that. With AI coming into play, it doesn't take much to seem like a skillful DJ.
Yeah. But don't people watch to make sure that you actually DJing? Because there's people who know how to. They probably do it just as a hobby. So when they do come watch you, they'll watch your technique to see if you're actually doing the right thing or you're just playing a mix.
Yeah, well, that's the role of the media. They watch whether people are, doing what they promise they'll be doing. As for the general public, they're just there to party and drink.
Yeah.
So, they don't really care as long as the music is providing them a nice soundtrack to their memories that they're making. Yeah.
Makes sense. Speaking of KABZA, while we're on the topic, what are your predictions on KABZA in the next 10 years? Where do you see him?
I don't like to predict for other people
Okay.
because I don't control their ambition. You know what I mean?
But I mean, given that he started from a back room in Alex, or not even a back room, in a one-room apartment in
Well,
Alex.
I mean, the Lombardi is not Alex, but yeah.
Well, funny enough, there's actually this place. Every time we pass there, someone will be like, "Oh, that's where KABZA started his music," and it's in Alex. So clearly, I've got the wrong information.
No, I'm just saying, it's like if your home is in Lombardi and you and your homies have got a studio in Alex, it's
Yeah.
not really.
Oh, okay, I get
You
you.
understand what I'm
Yeah, I
saying?
get you. But where do
So,
you think
yeah.
his music is going?
I mean, that's up to him. That's up to him and his ambitions. You know what I mean? You invest in the market that you want to be successful in, and he seems to be invested in the South African market. I don't know if there's anywhere left, any more room to grow within the South African market.
Okay.
But I do see him investing a lot in the South African market. Even down to opening up a club. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Piano
it
hub.
seems like he's trying to entrench himself in the South African market. Yeah.
And do you think there's more room for AMAPIANO to grow globally?
Yeah, there's always, like I said, the rest of the world doesn't even know it. You know what I mean? It's niche. It's in pockets.
Yeah.
It's the Africans that are everywhere around the world that know it and that want a taste of home. And that's why they book clubs, they book DJs, and they do the whole entire African diaspora party scene thing. But other than that, it's not mainstream. You know what I mean? It's not charting on their radio stations. It's not even on their top charts. We've got some globally known artists, some stars, but as far as a genre and a scene, the genre and the scene is still very underground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What inspired you to get into the music industry?
Yeah, I guess interest, and then there wasn't that many barriers of entry.
Okay.
Yeah, so you know what I mean?
Were you
It's
studying
like if
at
I
the
wanted
time?
to, no, like I started when I was a kid. So if I wanted to do mining as a kid,
Yeah.
I still need to finish school and then go to university and stuff like that. But as a kid, when I decided I wanted to do music, I could already do it.
Okay.
There was nothing stopping me.
Okay.
And then by the time I was an adult, I was already so far ahead in my career. So, I wasn't enticed to go into another profession.
You've got a world of knowledge when it comes to music. And I'm sure a lot of upcoming artists would want to learn from you in terms of what direction to take as they get into the business.
Yeah, well, I mean, everyone needs to find their own direction. You just need to be committed to it. Don't make a fool of yourself.
Yeah.
Respect whatever your choices are, and make the most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then all you need to do is just be consistent and show up.
Yeah.
and then you'll see some progress. And yeah, I guess that's the one thing they can learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of your proudest moments you've had within your career so far?
I got so many proud moments. You know, I remember the first Summers as an entrant, having entered an album for the Summers for the first time. And then that was the year Professor won. Like he won like a whole lot of records, a whole lot of awards that year. And I got to hang out with him. That's actually where I got to meet him, and I got to know him from that day onwards. That was sometime 2011 or so. Yeah, around 2011.
Okay.
The Summers were at Monte Cassino at the time. So to go from there to then finally having that moment, like sweeping and winning a whole lot of awards, that was, quite a full circle moment. Because at that awards, they used to have like a winners after party where all the winners would hang out. So Professor invited us to go. Well, we were actually supposed to perform, but there was like a winners VIP section.
Okay.
So that's where I got to meet him and got to speak to him and like got to understand the ambition of winning at an award show that is organized by the industry at large. That was a proud moment. Another proud moment was my first trip to the BETs in LA.
Oh, nice.
As well, I ended up accompanying a winner, and also ended up meeting Sylvia Rohn of Epic.
Can you tell us who you were accompanying?
I was accompanying Shoma Josie.
Oh,
actually, yeah.
Nice.
So while she was winning, I was busy having meetings, trying to organize, international record deals. And yeah, it was a successful trip. And then, through that, both Shoma Josie and Tyler ended up getting signed to Epic. So that was also a proud moment. Another proud moment, I guess, first trip to Senegal.
Okay.
That was a proud moment, performing in front of the Renaissance monument, that big statue with, the baby that's pointing towards the future. And,
I see it.
So that was pretty big.
Wow.
We were there with Thandiswa Mazwa and Vusi Mahlasela and some other big stars from that side of West Africa. Headlining Blankets and Wine Festival in Kenya at the Ngog race course. That was also like a big moment. It was the first time like that far outside of the country I could see the effect of the music, because there was a point where the crowd was singing the songs word for word, and the songs are not even in their language, but they're singing word for word. It's like a crowd of maybe like 8,000 people.
Wow.
That side, doing a show in Kampala, Uganda, and the show didn't pay that much money, but we did it in tandem with MTN and Tidal, because they had an MTN Tidal thing that they were doing there. So we negotiated with MTN to do a ringback tone campaign.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so the ringback tone campaign ended up making like a couple 100,000 rands.
Wow.
And they had billboards all over Kampala for it and stuff like that. So it's justified doing the show for almost next to nothing.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty big show. I mean, 3,000 people venue. It was sold out in Uganda.
Wow.
Also traveled to Ethiopia, shot a music video there, traveled to 4 different cities, went to the source of the Nile, the Blue Nile Falls.
Okay.
Went to the old ancient Ethiopian or the medieval. Let me not say ancient because it's like castles from the 1400s
Wow, okay.
in Gondar in Ethiopia.
They're still standing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah. So we shot a music video there. We had to fly around the country with a crew of 9 people, and managed to pull it off within a week and a half. So that was, a proud moment, I guess. Yeah. I mean, there's
There's quite a
lots,
bit, eh?
yeah, there's lots of proud moments. I guess my proudest moments is like seeing where my musical journey has been able to get me. You know what I mean? Around the world. So yeah.
I think the easiest question is, where haven't you been? Then it's
I
like
haven't
nowhere.
been to Europe. I haven't been to Asia.
I think Europe is the same. Once you visit one country in Europe, then you realize the setup is exactly the same from
There's
one
not
country
enough
to
blacks
another.
for me.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so
true.
there's more blacks in the Americas. So
Yeah.
I
I see
prefer
why
that.
that wouldn't be something that you into.
Yeah, I mean,
But do you think K-pop, they wouldn't be into black music?
they copy black music, but they don't want to support black stars. So that's why they need to make their own Korean version
Of pop
black
music.
stars.
Yeah.
And then they support that,
Okay.
but they steal everything from the black stars.
Yeah.
There's nothing that K-pop or anything that's from Korea that is not stolen from somewhere else.
Yeah, but they their own little they their own little universe.
Yeah.
They'll mimic whatever they see on the outside, bring it in, make it their own.
Yeah, and that's that. So we also need to be just as protective with embracing our own culture. Yeah.
It sounds like collaborating and networking is a very important part of how you've been able to get so far within the business.
Yeah.
What would you say is how do you keep those relationships going?
Yeah, well, you always need to have something unique to offer. You know what I mean? It's no point being useful. You need to be necessary. You know what I mean? So it needs to be established that certain things cannot happen without you. And that's the only way in which you're able to build that network. People won't call you unless they need you.
Yeah.
And that's it. You know what I mean? So that's it. You need to find a space in which you're going to make yourself the most necessary component. And that's how you define a niche for yourself, and that's about that. Other than that, people will do whatever they can to do it without you.
That's going to remain with me, hey?
Yeah.
You need to be necessary,
Yeah.
not
Useful.
not useful.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, that gives me a lot to think about. What do you think? Guys, it gives a lot to think about, ne? Don't just be there because you can be there. They must be like, we can't work without this person. Yeah.
Exactly.
So music has actually shaped our culture. Ne?
Afike ngefortuna.
Is that what happened with KABZA and MAPHORISA, do you think?
Yeah, they both needed each other. You understand? And they still both need each other. They're able to do twice the amount of work. You know what I mean? They're able to bring together all their relationships, and then they're also able to benefit from their different personalities. So the people who might not want to work with Ori, but will do because it helps them work with KABZA.
Oh, I see.
The people that don't want to work with KABZA, but will do because it helps them work with Ori. You know what I mean? And then they both benefit from that.
Do you think that music has influenced South African identity? And how does your work contribute to that?
Well, I mean, yeah, music is part of our identity now. Like, people know us around the world because of our music, our dancing, So, yeah, I think my work has been to contribute to it having a global impact. You know what I mean? I did a lot of work behind the scenes to actually present the emerging genres. I did a lot of workshops 2018, 2019, well, from 2017 onwards, basically selling South African music, you know, and who are the coming attractions and the coming stars and the coming scene. And so from, I would say 2019 onwards, like I really focused on the coming AMAPIANO wave, you know what I mean? And basically preparing the industry to start listening to artists that might not have the numbers that are, you know, enticing from a streaming perspective because of how underdeveloped our streaming market was at the time, but have got the potential to grow as it develops. And with the development accelerating fastest on the African continent within our own South African market, I felt that it was important to position the country, you know, as a destination, because typically people look at Africa in terms of, you know, the demographics. So the total addressable market potentially in a country like Nigeria is bigger than in South Africa. So is it in Egypt, which is, you know, our second most populous country on the continent?
Yeah.
So is it in Ethiopia, which is the third most populous country on the continent? So is it in the DRC? You know what I mean? And so on and so forth. Those are countries with 200 million
Plus.
or above 100 million people in their population. Our population is much smaller. But because of how developed our industry and our market is, we punch above our weight, you know. And so it was very important to ensure that the people that are going to be investing in developing the African music scene when streaming comes on board don't have too much of a bias towards the markets they think have better demographics to offer like Nigeria and Egypt and Ethiopia and the DRC, whereas South Africa as a market is much more ready for that investment.
Okay.
You know, and the scene is much better developed, and there's a groundswell of artists from all over the country that also have got diverse styles and sounds. So the pipeline for new music coming out from our market is much bigger than in many other markets. In markets like Nigeria, you know what I mean, you don't have a debate about which is the most popping genre in Nigeria.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is what Nigeria has to offer
Yeah.
at this point in time. Even though there are different variances, you know, there was a movement of Alte crews at some point in time, you know, there are different sounds from the different regions, but it's not known that the region itself has got a diverse offering. Whereas in South Africa, you know, we've got a very diverse offering. And
Definitely.
we also
Very.
do adapt some of the world's popular music very well. You know what I mean? Our pop and R&B is comparable to the US and the UK.
Yeah.
That's why we're also one of the biggest markets in terms of its consumption. And that shows itself when a lot of the big artists within the pop R&B scene come to our shows for touring. You know, the Summer Walkers are coming. Not too long ago, you know, you've had a lot of R&B artists that have come to, like Kem is coming again, you know what I mean? A lot of the world's top pop and R&B stars have come into our market and have found it as a fertile market to invest in. And we have also produced some of, you know, the best R&B music in the world.
But I find it very interesting that all these R&B artists only come to South Africa once they like a lot older. You know, we don't get them in their prime. Now you get boys to men and they men literally on stage.
Yeah.
Who are like huffing and puffing while singing, you know? And I mean, we've had a big love for R&B for the longest time. So why do they only come much later into their career versus...
Because we can't afford tickets at the peak of their careers, that's why.
Okay.
It's very simple. You know, if you work at McDonald's in America, you get $14 an hour.
Wow.
Now, if you convert that into rand, that's like 250 rand.
That's a lot of money.
An
hour.
And now, how much do you get at McDonald's?
I have no idea. It's maybe 21 rand.
Okay.
I don't know.
And how much per day?
Sure.
Less than 250.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're getting more per hour than we're getting per day.
Jeez.
So, at the peak of their careers, you know, they're well entitled to make the most money possible, because that peak doesn't last forever as well.
And what do you think of artists who've like gone from being hip hop artists, and because of the AMAPIANO wave and that came and that kind of changed our culture of music in South Africa. What do you think of artists that jump ship and actually joined AMAPIANO? Is that
Well,
versatile? Are they versatile in that sense, or
like for me, it's like I wouldn't call them hip hop artists.
okay,
I'd call them trappers. They were trap artists. They were making trap.
okay,
So that's why it's like they've jumped ship because hip hop in general in South Africa, has embraced all genres and all styles of music, over the years.
yeah,
So that's always been, a part of South African hip hop is that it borrows from everything else that's popular in South Africa. So once the trap generation, which defined themselves as, we are trap, we're not hip hop. Once that wave died out, the artists, a lot of them, didn't have anything that still motivates them to continue. And so some of them decided to follow whatever trends were emerging. And that's why I say, like, professionalism is very important. A lot of artists are artists just because it's popular, not because they are making a decision as in this is the profession that I'm choosing for myself. And if it's the profession that you're choosing for yourself, you need to be able to adapt.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'd imagine hip hop is a culture. It's not just music. It's like a whole culture. So how do you
Yeah.
just jump ship and call yourself something else?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that they weren't hip hop. They were
Yeah,
trappers.
that makes sense.
You know what I mean? So it is what it is. And trap is also its own culture,
Yeah.
even though it's not the most, I guess, I don't know, it's not the most wholesome culture, but it's a culture on its own. And so for those people who are going into trap because it's popular, I guess it doesn't take too much for them to jump ship when something else is more popular. Yeah.
And I guess most of our listeners, because for a while everyone was into hip hop in terms of the listeners. And then AMAPIANO came, and then everyone shifted their focus from hip hop to AMAPIANO. Where does that leave hip hop now? Do you think it'll ever come back and be something that's very popular, or would they have to change their sound quite a bit in order for them to still be relevant?
Yeah, South Africans are very much like trend followers.
Yeah.
So we like to follow whatever we think is popular. So whether or not people liked AMAPIANO or not, because other people thought it was popular, then they all follow the trend.
Yeah.
And that's just how it moves in waves. So those who are unable to adapt and create a brand for themselves beyond whatever genre is popping at the time, they will struggle to maintain careers. And it is what it is,
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about that. That's just, the way our market is.
Yeah. I want to ask you, what makes...
Like last year, everybody wanted to dance to Maskandi now, for December.
Yeah.
Like it was a trend, yeah. You know what I
That's
mean?
true.
Like everybody on TikTok had a Maskandi song that they playing. It's like, yeah.
But Maskandi, guys, we are shy though. It's
Yeah,
really
but-
good music. It just has a time and a place.
No, I just think it just lacks professionalism. You know what I mean? If you go to a Maskandi concert, you're gonna go there, pay money, and then see guys miming on stage, not performing with live microphones. You know what I mean? And it's like, hold on. This is a joke.
Yeah.
You can't invest in that. You can't export that. And that's why it's stagnant. But, it's got a core following who are loyal to it. And sometimes having a core following that's loyal is like a bit of like a cult.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's no progress there because people are not looking to improve or do better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anything will satisfy that core market, and it is what it is.
It makes sense because, KZN is the largest populated province in the country. So if you've got 15 million people listening to your music, what more do you need, if that makes sense?
Yeah, and also if the province itself is a monolith
Yeah.
in terms of like this one big dominant culture. Whereas if you look at other scenes like in Limpopo, because of its diversity, has got various influences, you know, and it's got various regions which have got different audiences which you need to appeal to, and then they are the ones that are able to produce the talent that is then able to emerge from outside of that provincial scene. And that's why you get so much, I guess, so much diversity that comes from there. Whereas with KZN, I mean, you know, it's one culture group that's producing all of the culture, and there's a certain way in which it's been done traditionally, and those traditions carry through because there's no one that's coming there that can come with something new
Different,
and capture a
yeah.
market. You know
That's
what I mean?
true.
Exactly. So it is what it is.
You're right.
I guess you could say the same for the Western Cape, but the Western Cape, you know, all its culture, it takes from black culture from everywhere else in the country.
Yeah.
So Gqom is big in the Western Cape because they're taking it from KZN and the Eastern Cape.
Okay.
And those people are the ones that have got those venues where they play that type of music. And everything else that they get from the rest of the country, you know what I mean, through the migration that happens. But if you look at colored culture, I mean, it's stagnant. It's not producing anything new. If you look at Ura Musik, you know, it's stagnant. It's not producing anything new. If you look at more of the English culture, it's just, okay, what's trending in the UK or in the US, and then they bring that in. But because pop music in the UK and the US has stagnated, there's nothing new. There's no new sound. You know, there's no new stars. You know, they don't have anything new to steal from. And that's why
Okay.
they're also stagnating.
That makes sense, actually. Whereas in Limpopo, I mean, you get someone like Makazi and then you get Shoma Josie. They're like two different people, but they come from
You get
the same
Karishma now.
province.
You know what I mean? The one is Tsonga, the one is Venda, the one is Pedi.
Yeah.
You understand? So there's diversity. It's completely different. You know what I mean? And that's what keeps it vibrant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what makes Kanye West your hero?
Well, I guess, you know, we're both middle class kids. So yeah. I guess.
Is that it?
Yeah.
No, there has to be more.
No, seriously.
I'm a middle class kid.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone here, you guys middle class kids. Yeah, so what makes him so special?
Like, I mean, in the hip hop scene, there was no middle class kid in hip hop before Kanye.
Okay, so that's the only thing that stood out for you.
I mean, like, just like everything about him, like the way in which he's so knowledgeable, as well as, you know, he's got his own mind made up about certain things. Yeah, I see him as like a leader. So a lot of things that I've done, I've modeled it on the leadership of Kanye. Yeah, so, you know.
So tell me, do you think you being brutally honest has had any negative impact on you or has benefited you in a sense? Because I think you're a very honest person, I must say. Sometimes to your own detriment.
I don't know if I care. You know,
Okay.
like, you know, I care about what I think. I don't really care about what people think of me. So, you know, it is what it is. And if I didn't feel like, sorry man, my dad has been calling me. I'm shooting. Please call me in 20 minutes. So, so, you know, you just need to believe and have your convictions and just block out all the other noise.
All the noise.
Never do things for popularity or to, you know, gain something from other people. And so for me, I just feel like I'm able to say what I want and I'm able to do what I want. And I don't have to keep up appearances or care what other people think.
Yeah.
Which for me is, you know, freedom.
I mean, that's freedom at its peak, to be
Yeah.
honest.
So,
Most
you
people
know,
can't say that for themselves.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I don't like something, I can say I don't like it. I don't have to, you know, keep quiet. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And I
And
like to
how
maintain
someone
it that
else
way.
takes it is up to them.
Yeah, that's up to them.
You've said it, it's out of
offense
you.
is taken, not given.
Mm,
Yeah. So that's it.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so you're very vocal on Twitter, hey? Not
Not
Twitter
really.
X. You are.
Not really. I think there's people that post. It's just that people notice when I say something.
Yeah.
Like there's lots of people who post. It's just that they got like 10 followers or something. You know what I mean? So no one really cares. But even when I didn't have like lots of followers, I mean, just a couple years ago, I had like 3,000 followers.
Jeez.
You know what I mean?
I've got 91.
You know, yeah, I had 3,000 followers a couple years ago, but you know.
What
I'm
are you
like,
sitting on now? 200 and something.
No,
K.
I don't know, 128K or something.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I've never done anything to gain a following or to be interested in like if people are following me. There are those people that will want to diminish your influence on
Yeah.
people.
Okay.
And so they'll do and say anything just to either they'll try and troll you or they'll try and dispute what you're saying, you know what I mean? Like if you look at my comments, most of the people are trying to prove me wrong. You know, and all of them are always wrong.
Yeah. And you somehow always remember, hey? Like you always want to, yeah, I did say this like 5 years ago. People didn't listen. Yeah, now it's happening. It's like you almost like the whisperer who knows what's going to happen in the future. Then you say it, everyone fights you on it. And then few weeks, few months, years,
Well,
it's actually the truth.
yeah, I guess like you can see how things are developing. You know what I mean? Certain things are obvious, and I'm not afraid to point out the obvious. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's that certain people are too afraid to point out something that's obvious. It's like plainly obvious, like, okay, 1 + 1 is 2. Can you not see that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I'm willing to say 1 + 1 is 2, and then people are like, no,
Don't say it.
it's a window.
It's crazy. When did South Africans become so timid? Like they don't want to say the thing, and you now get scolded for being able to say whatever you want to say. You know what I mean?
But that's
We all
always
have
been the-
opinions, but
yeah, nah, not really. South Africans have never had like freedom of speech. Like we come from a history where we've got lots of repression, so it's new. It's new to people that people can say what they think. It's like new to South Africans. It's a new concept. So we can't forget our history. It's just that when we came into the Rainbow Nation, it's like, okay, we are now a Rainbow Nation. We've got freedom of speech. We've got all of those things. Those things were new to us.
and
So
some of them used them and some didn't.
So embracing those things, those ideals, didn't mean that we believed in them. You know what I mean? But it's codified into law. You know what I mean? It's part of our constitution. So it's gonna take time for people to get used to it. You know, and yeah, I'm not willing to wait. You know.
Clearly, because I mean, some of the stuff you've said have really put your life in danger
I don't
just
think
from
anything-
being
I don't
free
think-
to speak whatever your mind is telling you.
I don't think anything I've said has put my life in danger. I think like anyone's life is in danger in South Africa. Got like one of the highest murder rates in the world. You know, so it's a country built on violence, like people, you know, killing people for whatever it is that they want. You know, it's been like that, and we've been going through a process of civilizing our relations with one another, and our biggest drawback is the justice system. You know what I mean? So the reason for a lot of the killings in the country is because our justice system is not fair, and people don't feel like the justice system can adequately satisfy the disputes, and that's why they tend to violence. You know what I mean? And that's the unfortunate situation that we have in our country. You know, it's a very contested space. So, I mean, it's got nothing to do with what anyone says. It's got to do with what anyone threatens. You know what I mean? If you threaten someone's way of making money or making a living, you know what I mean? They're going to try and stop you from, you know, making good on that threat.
Yeah.
And that just puts everyone's life at risk as well, you know. it is what it is. It can be more random, or it can be, more premeditated. But that's the situation that we all find ourselves in, as South Africans.
Yeah.
At any point in time, our safety and security cannot be guaranteed. And I guess you can either just accept it, or try and change it. You know what I mean? By putting a spotlight on the unfairness of life in South Africa. You know what I mean? South Africa is very valuable,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of people that want a piece of it.
Yeah.
And we mustn't think that just because we are natives, God has given us the right to have all of South Africa to ourselves. There are many people who want to dispossess us of what is ours. And
Like Abubanso.
lots, the rest of the world.
Yeah.
The rest of the world.
What are they looking for? Because
Everything that we enjoy here.
I feel like the British almost took everything that we had when they colonized us. So what is left? What would they be still?
No,
What would they still want?
Their greed is insatiable. That's the thing, is that there's so much abundance. There's so much more that we have to offer. It's just that now the way in which they can take it is a little bit more controlled. They need to be more conniving. They can't just outright take it through, violence or through acts of war.
Are they coming back as investors?
Well, they've been here as investors, you know what I mean? And they're still extracting a lot from this country, much more than, we've ever gained from them. In fact, we've never gained anything from them, except the way in which we're living right now, which is good for some, but miserable for most. Yeah.
I mean, looking at the 30 years of our democracy, nothing's really changed for some people.
Yeah, for most people. In
Yeah.
fact, more people have gone further down than those who have gone up. So it's gotten progressively worse for more people and better for fewer people. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Donald Trump?
Yeah, I mean, Donald Trump is the symptom of, the American establishment having had a uniparty system that empowered the elites over the general population for too long. So, I mean, he's the only outsider to become American president. He hasn't been a governor, a senator, or
You
a
didn't
general
climb up the
in
ladder.
army.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the usual ladder, yes. So Americans want an outsider to change things, and America is going through somewhat of a deferred civil war. You know what I mean? It's a country that's trying to find its identity. It's a country that's 249 years old as well,
Yeah.
So in that long arch of history, for Donald Trump to become president, lose his presidency, then regain it again, shows what a resilient person he is, And for those people that thought that, this guy's a billionaire, he doesn't really want to improve his country, he's proven all those critics wrong. He's taken a bullet for his country, and he's the last of the strongmen leaders. I think the last of the strongmen leaders of his generation, yeah. I mean, when he was born in 1946, I think.
Okay.
So it's
Wow.
78.
Wow.
Yeah.
But don't you think a president's job should be for someone younger, not someone who's like
In America, you can't be
about
president
to eight?
at less than 35. So already they've got a lower limit. And it just takes so much to get to that level that it's almost impossible for a young person to be president.
Yeah, but the general population or the bigger population is always the youth, the younger people.
Yeah, but the youth won't vote for each other, and they won't vote for themselves. They'll vote for people that they feel like, well, their parents would approve of them voting for.
Yeah, but what do they
know.
know what we need in that sense? Because
it's not a
you're
rational
so
thing.
disconnected from being a youth.
It's not a rational
Or a
thing.
young
It's
person.
an emotional decision.
Jeez.
You know what I mean? So it's just like if you wanted to have someone mediate.
Yeah.
You'd rather find an older person to mediate
Than a younger person.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it, because you assume that they've got better experience, even though putting them in a position of leadership means that you will suffer the consequences far longer than they will. You know, and yeah, so I guess Donald Trump is a special type of leader, and I think the world will benefit from his leadership now in his second term much more than they benefited in his first term. And he also has the benefit of hindsight to look at how he was sabotaged in his first go around and how to avoid that this time around. And you can see that through how productive he's been within, you know, I think it's his first 10 days. I think he's on day 10 now.
Yeah, it's day 10.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of him being president. So yeah.
Do you think there's any like foreign policy or policies that he has for his country that South Africa can borrow and apply to make our country better?
I think we've borrowed too many of their policies.
Okay.
We've borrowed too many policies that, you know, don't benefit us whatsoever, and that confuse us as well. So I think we need to be able to decide our own policies based on what's best for our people. And if America is doing that, then they will be encouraging us to do more of the same as well. Yeah.
I think what I like about him, besides the fact that he's very resilient, is the fact that he's very patriotic about his country. You know, it's America first, everybody else can wait. I think if we could adopt that same energy about our country, would be further than where we are.
Yeah, you know, America, again, is 249 years old. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of America to be patriotic about. Whereas we're 30 years old, you know, almost 31 years old, with all of us having a vested stake in this nation, you know. So that patriotism builds up over time after we've invested in this country. You know, they fought a civil war. We haven't yet fought a civil war for this country. So there's lots of people in America whose ancestors gave up their lives for the America that we know today. And same with South Africa. There's a lot of people whose ancestors gave up their lives for the South Africa that we know today. And once that identity gets fostered within a nation's people, that this country that they enjoy is something that they have to fight for, that then makes them more inclined to be more patriotic. And so I think that that's going to come with time. We're going to be able to put South Africans first. But that's only going to come once we've got like a real changing of the guard or a changing of the leadership, because the leadership that we have right now is still the same leadership that was there in 1994. You know what I mean? It's just the same organizations and the same people, the same power structure, just that the players have gotten older with time. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
That's it.
So you were in prison for a bit. Were you in prison or in jail? What's the difference?
I was in prison.
For how long?
Hold on, who's that?
2 weeks.
Who's that girl? Who's that girl that works at Sun City? Her name begins with an M.
M.
You know her. She knows you. She told
Really?
me about you. Yeah, she knows you. She used to work with your dad.
Oh,
Muriel. No, it's not Muriel. She's still there at Sun City.
yeah, I know her.
Okay.
I just forgot her name.
Yeah. But yeah.
Damn, I know that lady. Yes. Oh, was she?
She
was
said,
she?
Oh. Yeah, she said I'm gonna say hi.
Oh.
She was there when I was going there. She was there when I was being released.
Really? Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, so how did you guys get onto the topic? That is so interesting.
No, they knew that, you know. I obviously know your dad. So,
Okay. Oh, okay.
So then,
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't have too much of a bad time while you were in there.
Nah, I wouldn't call it like too much of a bad time. There's no such thing as a good time there. It's
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's not home. You know what I mean?
What is
it's
it
not a
like?
homely place. I mean, I guess it's hell on earth, I guess. You know what I mean? To be stuck there in a confined space, to not have your freedom. So it is what it is.
What's a typical day like in prison?
The same as every day. It's the same. You know what I mean? You probably wake up at whatever time you wake up. If you shower, you shower. You know what I mean? And then you wait until they release you to have breakfast or porridge at like 8 a.m., between 8 and 10 a.m. And then between 12 and 2 p.m., you get locked up again for the rest of the day. That's it, every day.
Jeez. And how big is the cell? Were you in like a common cell or like in a singular cell?
No, in a common cell.
So there's how many people in there?
70.
And I'm sure the inmates know you very well, ne?
Yeah, no.
Were they just like questioning you the whole time?
No, not really.
Bowungavulang podcast la pechen.
No, not really. Like, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Everyone's there on their own journey, you know what I mean? Everyone's there just to do their time. And yeah, it is what it is. But, you know, to pass time, obviously, you watch TV together, you know, you just chill. And that's it. You're stuck in that confined space for a minimum of 18 hours a day.
Jeez.
So you have to make the most of it.
Jeez. What's the temperature like there? Is it cold or is it hot?
Nah,
Because I'm sure the
there's
windows
no
are
fan,
quite...
There's no aircon.
Yo. Amanza
So when it's
shisayo.
cold, it's cold. Yeah, there's hot water in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you wake up early, I think there's hot water from 2 a.m. until 10
Wow.
a.m. Yeah.
And there's some households, people who actually pay taxes, they can't even afford to put on their geyser. And inmates are getting hot water mahala.
I mean,
Yeah.
those people they're free to go and work and then be able to afford to put on a geyser. You know what I mean? So like the life in prison is, must never compare it with the outside world. You know what I mean? With the outside world, you can still change your situation. In the prison system, if that's what you get inside the prison, that's it. Every single day. You know what I mean? And you can't change that situation until you're released. You know what I mean? And even when you're inside, life goes on outside. You know what I mean? You're missing out on life. So, I don't think people that are outside should ever compare themselves to prisoners.
Ne?
Yeah, it's just, it makes no sense because the prison's situation is something that's worse than anything. You know what I mean?
Mentally, at least.
No, just in like,
Even
actually,
environmental wise.
yeah, I mean, you're just stuck there. That's the thing. You're stuck there for 18 hours. Your movement is controlled. It's not a normal situation. You know what I mean? You might as well not even have weekends because each and every single day is the same thing. You know what I mean? You're stuck there for all those years. Other people, their lives are moving on. You know what I mean?
Did you get any visitors? Did people come and actually check on you?
Lots of visitors.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, on
That's
the weekends.
good.
Yeah.
Oh, is weekends my visiting hours on a weekend
Yeah,
pen?
it's only
Oh.
weekends.
Wow.
Yeah, and you get like 4 visits per month.
Oh. Sure. So is it like per person or can't like a group of people come visit you at once?
2 people
Okay,
maximum. Yeah.
And do you have to change because you weren't were you in a waiting trial? No. So were you wearing orange?
Yeah, I had orange uniform. I organized uniform for myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sure, the mental shift must be crazy. I mean, to think you woke up at home, next thing you're in orange.
Yeah, well, I mean, I knew it wasn't for long, so it wasn't that bad. So yeah, I knew I wasn't gonna spend longer than a couple weeks there. So yeah.
Sure, I think at least ungono when you knew you weren't going to be there for long. For someone who doesn't even know what the future holds or what it looks like.
Well, I
it
mean,
can
like
be-
you don't just get there, but randomly. You know what I mean? If you're gonna spend years there, you must have done something that's gonna land you there for years. So, it is what it is. So,
But what were you in for?
yo,
Because I know you were going. There's a case that you were busy going to, like,
Yeah.
and then there's a contempt of court where I think
I
you
was there
didn't
for
pitch.
contempt of court. It had nothing
Okay.
to do with not pitching.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was there for contempt of court. That's it.
So they give you what, a 60-day penalty? Is that what you get, a fine?
No, it's not like a standard thing. It's like what was requested by the people that made the application for contempt of court.
Oh, okay.
And it ended up being a default ruling.
Sure.
Yeah, I wasn't able to appear in court anyway. So, yeah.
So what's the beef with you and Professor Pakeng? Is it Pakeng?
No, I don't have a beef.
She's got beef with you.
Yeah, so like it's it's another case of like our mothers need to be respectable and respected. You know what I mean? And it's not too much of an to ask, to be a decent human being. So when I was getting arrested, she thought that she can take that as an opportunity to like now crack jokes and clown me. And then she alluded to some things, about, I don't know, her hoping that I get sodomized in prison or
Jeez.
something like that. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, so
That's
this is
serious.
the caliber of person that she is. If I turn up the heat on her, I wonder if she'll like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I can turn up the heat. And
Which you did a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I will continue.
There's
until
more
she
heat.
apologizes. There's more heat until she apologizes. You see, the thing is that if you want to play a game, you need to understand there's certain people that can play that game.
Better than you.
And now you want to play this game because you think you got one up. You don't have one up. You know what I mean? And so it is what it is. Just her needing to be taught a lesson and learning about respectability politics. You know what I mean? That's all there is to it. And also, like, we don't expect if some, let's say you're going to the mall with your mother, and some young man now starts flirting with your mother. It's your mother's job to say, "Yo, young man, like I don't
Mdala.
know who raised you,
Yeah.
but you don't do that."
Yeah.
So she doesn't have that sensibility either, as well. So she'll be on the timeline, busy talking to little other people's kids, who are saying, "Hey, I can be your Benton" and everything, and she entertains that sort of behavior.
Is this something you saw before she came at you?
No, it's something
Or
I've been, I've been
you've been-
seeing it. I've been
okay,
seeing it. So
okay.
you know what I mean. As you said, I never addressed it. I never had a reason to, and then I saw that okay, clearly it's gone to a head. A lot is going to a head. So someone like that is like, what they haven't contributed anything to South African society in general.
Yeah.
You know what I
As
mean?
big as, she's a professor by profession.
Yeah, but I mean, she had a
hasn't
job at UCT. Out of all South Africans, how many South Africans go to UCT? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So her effect is very small. In the bigger scheme of things. And even when she did that, she made the environment very difficult for any other black woman to ascend to the position that she was in, because she refused to be diplomatic in her handling of things. You know what I mean? It's like she was put in that position purely because she's a black woman, not because she's the most qualified, but because they wanted to have a black woman so that they could score the political points of saying, "Hey, we've got a black woman vice chancellor."
Yeah. She didn't use that opportunity.
Now that she's left, her legacy needs to be: has she made it easier for another black woman to ascend to a black woman vice chancellor, or she made it harder? She's made it harder, and she keeps on doing that because of her behavior and the lack of respectability with her public conduct. You know what I mean? Like, we all know what a thirst trap is.
Yeah.
We're not kids. You know what I mean? 23-year-old kids know what thirst trap is. 33-year-old women know what a thirst trap is. So a 57-year-old woman, we cannot forgive you.
Yeah.
You are way too old.
Yeah. And considering that she's a deputy vice chancellor.
Well, she was.
She was. She's around young children already.
You understand what I'm saying? If it was a principal of some high school, a man who was flirting with little girls, he'd be called a pedophile.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He'd be removed from his job. So the fact that she feels that she can do it shows that, she doesn't respect herself enough to ensure that she conducts herself in a respectable manner, so that people can respect her and say, "Oh, you know what? Hi, mama, you are respectable." She's not respectable. You know what I mean? She's got clapbacks and stupid clapbacks. You know what I mean? That don't show any respectability.
Yeah.
I don't know. She posted something there just yesterday. I don't know, and I didn't even need to respond because I was like, okay, I've already shown exactly what caliber of a person you are enough for me not to need to deal with you anymore. people will deal with you
Yeah.
by themselves.
Yeah.
And that's the situation she finds herself in right now, is trying to, I guess, restore her image. But it's impossible, because if you're just any person that can say, I wish someone gets sodomized,
Yeah.
something's really wrong
That's
with you.
yeah, true.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like
You've got a great following. People will fight for you. You don't even
Well,
have to say anything.
I think that people appreciate that I fought for them. You know what I mean? And that's why they want to protect me. And yeah, that's it. I appreciate that.
That makes sense. What's your take on Gogo Maweni getting arrested? I mean, we also have Musa Kaule, who's also been arrested. Like, I'm a caught up piecing. I'm a celebrity these days.
That's what I was saying. It's like, the celebrity news are happening in court.
In court, yeah.
In court, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been a long time coming. I guess
Kanjani.
because the courts are they get to have the final say, I guess. They get to make the final judgment. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm just very concerned with the way in which African spirituality is being bastardized.
Okay.
You know, any Tom, Dick, and Harry can decide they want to be a sangoma or whatever. You know what I mean? And there's no
become very
barriers
popular.
of entry. And people's spirituality is something that's very sensitive. You know what I mean? And I just feel like we're not gatekeeping that enough. So right now, any and everybody can use that as a cover for whatever it is that they want to get up to, which is nefarious. Yeah. Money corrupts, and people use money to do deceitful things and to get away with it. And it just so happens that at some point in time, you know, someone will say the buck stops here, and you can't get away with things as much as you wanted to.
Is it 2 counts of assault, 2 counts of theft?
I don't even know. I'm not even following the case. I'm not following the case because, like, you know, for me, it's not of interest to me.
Yeah.
That much. But, I mean, if there are complaints against the people, there have been charges laid, you know. I have faith that, you know, with the right type of legal representation, they'll get a fair hearing. And, yeah, we'll get to the truth eventually, and then we'll see ultimately.
there's
But
a
I
bit
don't
of
think
hope.
I don't think these cases should be in the public interest. I think like the media frenzy around some of these cases is a distraction from
For
a lot
something
more
else.
important matters. You know what I mean? So if we can keep the people focused on these celebrities and everything else, maybe the shenanigans of the politicians will be forgotten. Yeah, and that's what I see it as. I see it as like a nice big psyop where they can get so-called celebrities wrapped up in legal troubles just to draw attention away from what people should be really watching.
That
You know
makes
what I mean?
sense.
Yeah, people forgot about their potholes and they're more interested in Gogo Maweni. No,
That's true. That is very true, actually.
yeah.
I'm going to ask you
So then-
directly.
yeah, what?
Do you think of the podcast? The moment you walked in and you were like, okay, labantu
yeah.
basirious bayashoota.
Yeah, I guess.
What was
you know,
your
you guys
impression?
got nice cameras, you got lights, you know, you got your LEDs and all that stuff. You got your sound disc. So yeah, you guys have come up, I guess.
Thank you so much, Nota. You've been a pleasure talking to. I really
Thank
enjoyed
you.
this conversation. Thank you for agreeing.
Yeah.
We were like, yeah, we've got to get a Nota in here.
Yeah, no
So
problem.
we really
You're welcome.
appreciate you coming
You're
through.
welcome.
Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, comment. I see you, Violet, guys. Cheerio.